Yo, what is going on, guys? So today's video is going to be about the second brawler coming in this update. It's Naja. She is a mythic damage dealer, quote unquote, who is also probably one of the most gooned brawl stars in the first 24 hours of its announcement. I gotta say, I was scrolling Twitter and I bookmarked these not because I'm like look at all of these like goon arts. Like it's so much goon. It's just so much goon. I didn't save these, you know, to like for any nefarious reason. I just wanted to show you guys. I saved it to show you guys, so you know what to avoid and what to watch out for. Of course, obviously, like I would not goon to a character until I know that they're at least confirmed 18 plus. Now, Naja, she is an employee. She has a J-Slur, so you know, most likely safe. But I am, of course, never going to goon to anything until I know it's morally righteous to do so. And Naja, you know, until some time passes, we're gonna say she has a wonderful sense of style. Actually, you know, with Finks' powers, maybe she's like actually 300 years old. Who knows? I will also really quickly say there is a change of plans again. So the update is in fact tomorrow on February 25th as of me recording this. However, the actual series event is no longer gonna be on the 25th. It's gonna be on the 26th. And so yeah, it's gonna be delayed by a day. There's also some weird stuff going on with like, I think the last season trophy box is delivered on February 27th. Even though in game it says that the season ends on like 8 days. I don't really know. Yeah. It's gonna end in the next, I guess, 3 days instead. And then Saturday, 25th, exciting things coming Saturday. But anyways, with all that out of the way, let's now jump into this Naja showcase. The default footage that Brawl Stars has sent this time is actually pretty low quality. It's really hard to watch this one, especially more so than Sirius, because I think with Sirius, it's like, you know, he's a pet spawner. He spawns 6 pets. You kind of just do the same thing as any other players who spawn 6 pets. Like you just like one-shot everything, right? But Naja, I think the actual impact of her is going to be kind of hard to tell, especially playing against bots. And there's a lot of more niche mechanics in Naja's kit that I think the tester or the recorder of this generic footage didn't really go into detail testing out as much as I would have liked to see. So in any areas where the default footage doesn't like cover what I want to say, I think we'll also cut to a Kairos time video clip where he does test the thing. So it'll be a little bit of mixture of me going over the default gameplay Naja showcase footage versus also Kairos Time's testing. Thanks to Kairos Time. Shout out to Kairos Time, guys. Subscribe and like Kairos Time. Yeah. And of course, I'll be giving you my thoughts on, you know, the brawler as we go along. So let's jump right into it. Starting off with Naja's base kit. So Naja has 6,800 HP, another pretty solid medium HP brawler. She's pretty chunky, pretty tanky. Okay, no offense, but she's tanky. You know, maybe somewhere around the 5 elixir range, not quite 9. I think that's respectable. She has another fast movement speed brawler. I don't really know why we're just getting spammed with all these fast movement speed brawlers. And in her case, she's also like almost a sniper. She has a really long range. And so, you know, she's kind of going to be reminiscent to Angelo in a way, like one of the only snipers with a fast movement speed. By the way, before this update, I think the only brawlers that had fast movement speeds were pretty much like tanks and Shelly. And, you know, like it's not really something that's supposed to, I think it's just something that makes a brawler kind of quote unquote artificially a lot better. I'm not sure if Naja really needs this, but she has it. Naja's basic attack throws out a jar, and after the jar travels out, it explodes, and a little snake pops out that deals 960 to I think 1600 damage depending on how far the snake travels. So the snake's damage scales variably, kind of like a Piper in a way. And then the actual snake, once it lands, it'll also poison too, dealing, I think, base 380 damage per tick, and it ticks twice. But Naja has a star power too that increases the poison of damage based on like the enemy's percent HP. So in the footage, you'll see it dealing like varying amounts of damage too. That's the star power. Also, I think that's probably going to be the better star power. So most of the time, you're going to be seeing Naja do about like 400 to 500 damage per poison tick with 2 ticks. All in all, I think most of the time you're not going to be hitting enemies with the jar damage unless, you know, they're coming up on you and like trying to touch your snake. They're like coming up on you and like getting all up in your face. So most of the time, I think the max damage she's going to deal per attack is going to be around like 2400, 2100, around that range, which is kind of similar to Byron. So in a way, she doesn't have the most burst damage at max range, but she does have a decent amount of damage, and she does more damage per attack than Belle. You can pretty much expect that to be true. And then up close, she actually does more damage with a jar too. So overall, I think it's a pretty strong basic attack. But I think the most underrated thing about it that you can't really get a sense of in this test footage is the fact that it's actually surprisingly auto-aimable. Here's a clip from Kairos' showcase where he talks about this.
Next, we have the auto-aim test. This is the one I was so excited for because she can auto-aim from such a far distance away. Naja's jar can't even reach 6 tiles. But Because the snake from her jar can completely change directions, it's actually very easy to land an auto aim attack since Nita is running in a very straight line. Now, the damage that counts as only poison damage from the snake, but with a star power equip, Naja is able to deal 2,316 damage from 6 tiles away. Surprisingly, that's only enough to get her 23rd place.
Oh my god, I just realized. Wait, he's so right. Bro, you can auto... Because, like, the jar is, like, the point of auto aimed it. It's like having Naja herself be at this distance, but it's just her attack. And so if you auto aim from, like, here, you'll be able to hit them even if they're technically really far away from Naja. You can still auto aim and hit even if it's up close like this. Oh my gosh. High skill brawler. Wait a second. Is she a fraud? Because it's like this. It's like this whole area circle. Oh my fucking god.
No matter how enemies try and dodge and weave and whatever, right? And it's her reliability and being able to hit enemy targets from a distance that I think is going to make her strong.
So yeah, I mean, effectively, I think there's a good chance Naja might actually be kind of an auto aim friendly brawler, even though she's, you know, like it looks like her attack would be pretty high skill, but I don't know. In practice, like if you're standing anywhere near that jar within like at least 3 tiles of it, like you're just gonna eat her snake. Like who knows how long that snake has even been stuck in that cum jar of hers. Like I don't know, maybe that's like fucking salmonella, guys. Like that shit could be COVID-3 in there. You were just fucked. The other thing to note is that because her attack is kind of like bees, if you can just like spam snakes, and there's not really any gameplay in terms of like trying to bait her attack or waiting for her to run out of attacks. She just has infinite ammo, kind of. Right? Like, so, guys, if you thought bee hackers were annoying, Naja hackers, oh my god. It's gonna be kind of brutal, I think. But this is generally speculation. Maybe in practice it won't be as bad as we think it is, but because, you know, at max range, her reload speed is technically longer too, since you don't start reloading until like the jar and the snake are fully executed in their attack animations. So we'll see, but I don't know. I think any brawler with a poison attack just usually is quite annoying to face. Naja's super, it throws out 3 snakes. Again, she has a lot of jars. She's either someone who's really into pickling, or is I don't know, like there's why there's so many snakes in these jars. The snakes on impact and explosion deal 500 damage in a little pretty wide AoE. So I think if you do hit someone with the super, I think you can hit the enemy twice with like the 2 explosions if you get him right in the middle of it. But the actual explosion is not the main part of the damage. It's the snakes that pop out from the jars too after the explosion, which deal 800 damage per tick of poison and tick 3 times. So that's 2400 damage per snake, and she spawns 3 snakes with 1 super, not to mention the initial impact explosion damage. And the snakes themselves have like 3200 health. So, you know, I mean, especially for a single shot brawler, like single target brawlers, they're not killing these snakes. They're maybe gonna kill 1 if they're lucky. Piper's just fucked. I think this super is really fucking scary, because if all 3 hit, that's 7200 damage that you're just straight up taking from 1 super. If only 2 hit, that's still 4800 damage, not to mention, like, just from the poison alone, not to mention the initial impact. So that it's going to be another 500 on top of that at least. And the super itself, you know, if enough snakes land, you just basically fully recharge your super back. You know, it just kind of reminds me of Terran in a way, where like a super plus a couple hits just fully recharges your super.
Next is the boss test, which is really useful for telling how much damage a brawler can do over a long period of time. Naja uses her attacks, her supers, and gadgets just like she did in the assassin test, and while it does take her a while to charge her first super, the poison damage starts stacking up really fast after that. She easily chains through a few supers and deals very consistent poison damage all the way to the end. She's able to defeat the boss in 26.7 seconds and gets 31st place. Next is the super range test. And Naja's super can be...
No, like, this is the stuff that you can't really see in like the fucking default footage. I'm so sad. Like, this is actually a lot of damage. You would never guess it from watching the default footage, but she actually does a good amount of damage with the super on a single target. That's actually very scary. But it's not even just the damage and I think, you know, the annoying aspect of her spawning pets with the super. It's also the actual, the distance of the super is also variable like her basic attack, because when she throws her jar out with her super charged, she can throw her super from the jar. And so it's like jars and jars. She's just jar stacking. It's kind of fucked up. And the super has a similar range as the snake from her basic attack. So I'm pretty sure both her jar and super will reach beyond an 11 tile range. So most snipers in the game, by the way, have, I believe, a 10 tile range. Like Piper has a 10 tile range. And then Nani, I think specifically, has like an 11.67 tile range. So those things combined means that Naja is going to be basically on par with most snipers in terms of range, with maybe potentially an easier to auto-aim attack than most snipers, just because like the effective distance from where she is auto-aiming the shot is like halved compared to other snipers if you think about it, right? Because the jar is like the point of auto-aim, or the point of where the attack comes out. So it's not going to be so easy to dodge this poison super in practice, especially if it's as auto-aimable as it looks. And also, you know, because it spawns pets that will chase after you even if you do dodge the initial explosion. So yeah, I think this brawler has definitely earned her damage dealer moniker, even if she doesn't look like she does that much damage per attack on like a first glance. Like only 1600 with just the snake alone. Like how much could that be? Well, don't judge a snake's danger by its cover. You have to also judge it by the impact of its poisonous residue that it'll leave on your body, as well as its two snake friends that might also pull up and have their way with you. You just gotta, I think this brawler is actually going to be dealing a crazy amount of damage in practice, and it's going to be very annoying with a very long range, and also damage over time, which always just means the lane is going to be fucked because you're just going to be trying to heal and you can't. And also her attacks can like peek around walls too, right? She is kind of like a Rico in a way. It's a Rico plus Byron plus Bonnie plus Mr. P/Eve plus Goon. Yeah, I don't know, guys. I mean, seems kind of strong. But that's just her base kit. Let's now dive into her gadgets and star powers, because I think these will also kind of greatly impact her strength. Although I don't think they're going to be nearly as like game-changing as just like her core kit. So maybe even a free-to-play friendly brawler. You don't even need her star powers or gadgets to make her work. First gadget is called Poison Puddles. It's on a 17-second cooldown, and it makes it so any enemies that are currently poisoned by Naja will create poisonous puddles for the next 4 seconds. Now, it says all enemies, but realistically, it's most likely going to be just like 1 or maybe 2, because her poison only lasts for 2 ticks, right? So I think in the time by, like, even if you wanted to poison 2 enemies at once, unless they were like right up in front of you, by the time you shoot your second shot to poison another enemy, the first round of poison might already be expired. Either way, these poison puddles, it's kind of hard to tell from the example footage like how much damage they actually deal, but from what I can tell, it's actually not that relevant, because most of the time enemies are just going to dodge the poison puddle entirely. Like they can just walk in a straight line and the poison puddles will not hit them a single time. But you can actually see in this Kairos time footage, when an enemy is forced to stand in the poison puddles, it actually does a decent amount of damage. I think it does like 1,000 per tick. It's not clear from the footage though, from either side, Kairos time or the default footage, if standing in the poison puddle just damages you like just regular damage of 1,000 per tick, or if it's like a poisoning effect where like you just step on it once and then you're poisoned, kind of like Carl's Fire Rocks gadget. This is, you know, something again that I would love to test out, but either way, I don't think most people are really going to be standing in it, so I really am not sure if this gadget's going to be that useful. You know, most of the time, maybe it'll be somewhat useful in some like hot zone or gem grab context, like area control wise, or even knockout and bounty, but like it is only on a 17-second cooldown, right? So maybe it'll be okay. The other gadget I think is going to be maybe a little bit more useful though most of the time, and that is Naja Jar. The Naja in a jar gadget. Wow, she really just loves jars so much she wants to be in one herself. So real. This gadget has a 20-second cooldown, and it's basically just like Charlie's Cocoon. She enters a jar which has 6,000 HP, which decays over time. It looks like over maybe 3 or 4 seconds. When she leaves it, she does like a little pierce gadget like knockback effect. It doesn't deal any damage, but it does knock enemies back in a pretty decent radius. I think this will be pretty good for Naja in terms of helping her handle aggro brawlers that dive on her. Her damage up close isn't like amazing in terms of burst damage. It does do a decent amount of damage over time with the 2 poison ticks plus jar plus snake combo. But I could definitely see, like, you know, Naja gets 2 attacks off jars, and then the enemy is basically just forced to do nothing or sit there and watch, or like try to even just break her out of the jar, but then gets knocked back while they take the full poison attack from both attacks and then ends up going down. Like, this jar might actually be a very solid addition to Naja's kit and make her actually really hard to push. 20-second cooldown is long, but I mean, if you go Gadget here, it's going to be more or less negligible. I think like it'll be basically be up every time you get dove on, I think, more or less. And I think the only quote-unquote not so great thing about the gadget is the fact that, you know, unlike Charlie's Cocoon, it doesn't heal you, so if you are low HP, like, you can still go down quite easily after you leave this gadget. But yeah, combined with her fast movement speed and decent HP, I think Naja's actually going to be, and also long range, so she can really just play her range and space people really well. I think Naja's going to be actually really fucking annoying and hard to kill. I don't know about broken. Like, it's really hard to tell with a brawler like this, whose attacks and abilities are so, like, unique in a way. But she's definitely gonna be strong. I think I can safely say she's gonna be pretty strong. Especially with, like, you know, the versatility in being able to switch between a gadget that provides more area control and a gadget that makes her surviving to aggro, right? She's kind of like Pierce in that way. So I guess W on counterability. All right, next up for star powers, we got Naja's first star power, Poisonous Protector. If brawlers defeated while poisoned by Naja, will spawn a snake in their place. This star power is a little bit of like a training cave farmer. I think you might have seen some clips of like, oh my god, she can kill one bot in the training cave and then instantly like wipe out all the bots. It's so crazy. And to be fair, the actual effect is on its face pretty strong because the snakes themselves will deal the full damage of her regular snake from her super. So each snake, if it hits you, it'll deal 2400 damage. Although it doesn't have the initial explosion damage, that's still a lot of damage. And even though the snake has half the HP of like a regular snake, it still is, 1600 health. That's not so bad. It'll still eat like a shot if you don't want to take 2400 damage over 3 seconds. The one caveat to this though is that it only spawns in if an enemy dies while under the effect of Naja's poison. And Naja's poison only takes for like 2 seconds. But if it's a super snake, it might be 3. But still, getting a kill in that kind of scenario, I don't know if it's that likely to happen. Like I said before, even with her Poison Puddles gadget, right? Like the poison on her basic attack only lasts 2 seconds. I don't know how likely it is you're even going to be able to impact multiple people with the poison, let alone time it so like an enemy dies while they're poisoned and they spawn a snake. And even if they do spawn a snake, are they going to be close enough to a teammate to even have the snake do anything? Because most of the time in Brawl Stars, 3 lanes, they're not really standing right next to each other unless you're playing pretty low down in elo, or it's a very specific context into, certain team synergies where it's like a support tank combo, right? I'm skeptical about this star power and its actual usefulness, but either way, it does look pretty cool to just wipe out all the bots. The other star power, though, is not as conditional, but it is, I think, not as strong. It's still useful though. It's just called Venomous. Enemies will take an additional 200 damage per tick of poison when a target is at 100% health, and they'll scale with the percentage. So if they're at 50% HP, they'll only take like 100 damage per poison tick. This star power I think is pretty solid, adding basically like hundreds of damage per attack to Naja's basic attack, especially when enemies are at higher HP. And it's just going to be a really consistent way for Naja to squeeze out a little extra damage. The star power doesn't impact the snake poison itself. Like the snakes will still do 800 poison per tick, but I think it does impact the initial super splash poison, which I thought was only a base 500, but it looks like it might also apply a poison debuff, which is subject to the star power, dealing like up to 700 poison damage you can see in some clips. So it only ticks twice though, just like your basic attack poison damage. So yeah, that star power I think is going to be generally the better one. Who doesn't love plus 300 damage on the basic attack for basically no drawback? And also plus 300 damage on the poison super too. Pretty simple like gadgets and star powers overall. I think the best build is most likely going to be just like the poison damage star power with the jar gadget if you're facing aggro brawlers, or poison puddle gadget if you're playing super control. Now she doesn't start with her hypercharge like Sirius does, and I guess this is just going in line with the other releases where I don't think they're gonna do hypercharge on release. They just did one with Sirius because he's special. Either way though, I mean the super already looks really strong. Depending on what they do with the hypercharge effect, I think Naja might actually just be like one of the best brawlers in the game. You don't want to say it too fast. I don't think she's broken, but she looks really insufferable and very oppressive. Am I right, guys? I'm sure many of you would be happy to be oppressed by her though, you sickos. Not me, of course. That's gonna be it from me, I think. Yeah, Brawler looks really fun. I'm guessing you're basically gonna use her, depending on how strong this is, like every map and mode. Not as bad as Sirius, of course. Nothing will compare to Sirius, but looks like a fun time. I'll probably do some Brawler 1v1s with her when she comes out, and we'll try it out. She comes out in a month, March 20th. Yeah, hear back from me then. That's gonna be for me. Take care of yourselves. Don't drain all your snakes of their poison in one place. I'll catch y'all next time. Love you. Peace. Bye. Mwah. Update, I guess, tomorrow, actually. I'll see you guys in the update tomorrow with the fucking buffies and shit, I think.